Hey, it's the month of Scooby-Doo, and like most Halloweens on the channel, that means we need a couple of the scariest Scooby-Doo villains that gave you nightmares to haunt our dreams. Last week, we went out to see and met the ghost of Captain Cutler, and we're staying out here a little longer before heading back. Chosen thanks to feedback on Patreon for what was wanted this season, we're staying in the original series territory, Scooby-Doo Where Are You?, for Season 1, Episode 14, originally aired December 13th, 1969. Go Away Ghost Ship. Our terrifying villain of the day is none other than the ghost of Redbeard himself. One of the most iconic villains, he's been referenced countless times over the years in media that followed, from comics to cameos in movies and episodes. You could find him in titles like Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, The Night of 100 Frights game, and he could be seen featured in the museum in Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, where he was originally meant to have a bigger role with a lot of screen test work done, but was later cut due to budget cuts and changing effects studios. You can see this concept art here where he was meant to come down on a street with his ghost ship and others such as the Gaggling Green Ghost, the Witch Doctor, Creeper, Witch, Captain Cutler, and so on. In the final film, we of course still see the ghost ship coming down a street in a similar way, it's just ultimately without Redbeard, though we can infer he was technically brought back to life if his ship is there. With the part cut, his actor would instead go on to play Minor 49er in the film with the same fire-breathing gag. Redbeard's design is just so good that, as mentioned in the video on the episode, one of the Harlem Globetrotters episodes of the new Scooby-Doo movies reused the design of Redbeard and his crew completely identically, only making them white now, and even still called him Redbeard, despite being a different, unrelated ghost. The episode has also been released many times. I find it funny that the 1998 classic series VHS featuring that snow ghost paired the two since they're hardly related, but of course the 2000 VHS and DVD Creepy Escapers also made sure to add it, and many more followed since. Let's get into what truly must be so scary about this guy. We set the mood appropriately, already out at sea with some ominous music, a ship floating through the fog as the captain spots another ship that, upon seeing the pirate flag, immediately recognizes it as the ghost of Redbeard. It's definitely an appropriately raggedy looking ship, immediately giving us this iconic shot of the ghost captain laughing. Like the Captain Cutler episode, the gang are hanging out at the malt shop, once again reading about a ship in the paper, which apparently has been the third freighter rated this week. C.L. Magnus, owner of the shipping line, is reported to say it's the ghost of the pirate captain Redbeard. I always loved this part as a kid where Shaggy takes his impossibly large sandwich and uses a string to tie it down and make it edible, which of course Scooby snatches over for himself. Velma feels bad about Mr. Magnus not only being on the verge of bankruptcy, but now all of this stuff happening, and Daphne wonders why a ghost pirate would want revenge against someone so nice. For once, even though they are still meddling and not related to this matter at all, they at least have some validity in pursuing this, as they actually feel empathy for a victim specifically, and when you know it, they decide to go to the apartment of Mr. Magnus to see if they can talk to him about it and solve this. They make it to his penthouse, where he has his very memorable and creepy butler open the door, sending them away. Fred has another one of his ideas, dressing themselves up as room service to get in past the butler and serve breakfast.
At 11 o'clock at night?
Sure, and that way you don't have to get up in the morning to eat it.
Of course, they get tripped up by the bearskin rug, catching the attention of Mr. Magnus, fully exposed. He sits them down and tells them about the terror inflicted upon the seas 300 years ago by the pirate, only stopped when Mr. Magnus's ancestors brought him to justice, which the pirate swore he would get his revenge over. As he says there's nothing that can be done to stop the ghost, Scooby notices a shadow belonging to the butler listening in, while the gang assure him they have a plan. Choosing to go out at night like the ghost, they head out on a dinky little boat hoping to keep to the ghost's schedule tonight, eventually finding the Magnus freighter they were looking for. Just as they expected, a fog starts rolling in, so they turn on a tape recorder they brought to act as a decoy, playing foghorn sounds to try and get the ghost to come after them instead, and the foghorn is definitely warranted. One of my favorite bits was always Shaggy saying it was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and Scooby doing it literally, then opening it back up when it closes because he spots the ghost ship. Unfortunately, their plan does in fact work so well that the ghost ship aims right at them, and the motor abandons them right in its path. This is one of the best bits.
I'm paddling, but I'm not getting anywhere.
Me neither.
The boat crashes right through them, cutting the boat in half and separating the gang as they sink.
Oh, my hairdo!
Priorities. Shaggy and Scooby realize there's only one place to go from here, which is to board the ghost ship, making their way through one of the windows. Up top, the trio make their way onto the boat as well, finding the ship to be deserted. What on earth is happening to Velma here, by the way? The boys believe they've found Redbeard's cabin, including a portrait of him on the wall. However, Scooby drawing on the face ends with the real pirate lifting it up to jump scare him, leading to a chase as he tries to get at them. Worse, a ghost sword pops in through the wall to start chasing them as well, almost getting Scooby's tail a few times. Just as they think they're safe, they realize the pirate captain and his cronies are right behind them, not really boding well for the boys. As the trio explore another part of the ship, the girls make a couple of bad ghost jokes that I do love, and apparently so does the captain as he laughs his way by, so they decide to follow him and find a door. He doesn't seem to be in, but they do find an icy fog made by a couple of tubs of dry ice, something you wouldn't expect to find on a ghost ship, which sounds like a clue. The door closes itself, locking them in as the captain laughs from the other side, so a lot of good it will do. The captain makes his way back to the boys, who won't stop crying, and I can't blame them as funny as it is. He insinuates he's going to them, but might spare them if they can do anything, which has Shaggy trying to say they're good cooks. So now they have to make something edible or else. As they start picking up some seawater, this was another one of my favorite scenes as a kid, especially with the two wondering what a ghost pirate would want in their stew and Scooby offering up some chains, Shaggy being really enthusiastic about it. Stove ashes are even crazier, and the fact that he thinks it's actually going to be the best thing ever just really seals it. And you know those cobwebs are just really gonna make the taste pop as they drop that in as well. Likewise for some soap.
Soap? I hardly use it myself, but why not?
What do you mean? What do you mean you hardly use soap? Please, what do you mean you hardly use soap, please? They mix it all together, completely sure they nailed it, and present it to the captain. And just looking at it, you can tell that shit is nasty. So, obviously he makes them eat it first, and laughs. They do gobble it up under the threat of bodily harm, and then they start spewing bubbles from their mouth because of the soap, and realize they can just spit bubbles at the captain and get away. I don't know about logic here, but another thing I always really loved. We'll be right back.
The ghosts, the witches, and the mysteries are back. And so is the world's greatest and hungriest gang that solves them. Now collect all of these awesome Scooby-Doo adventures on DVD. Join the gang as they unravel the creepiest cases ever in Scooby-Doo's creepiest capers. Scooby-Doo. Collect them all on DVD from Warner Brothers Family Entertainment. Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
The cronies are unfortunately out and about as the boys look for a way to safety, but Shaggy has yet another use for his ventriloquism talent, using a paper pirate hat to do an impression of the pirate captain, sending the two elsewhere. It's so successful that they can't stop laughing to themselves so hard that Shaggy loses his legs for a moment here. Redbeard seems to find it funny as well, so they get the hell out, trying to crawl under a tub to stay hidden, so blind that they unknowingly crawl themselves right off the plank. They at least seem to be floating, the rest of the gang seeing them from the windows and getting their attention.
Shaggy! Scooby, your voice has changed.
Love that part. As Shaggy promises to save them, the ship just starts moving on without them, so they do their best to paddle after it, the ship arriving at a secret cove at Skull Island. Not to be confused with the Skull Island from the creepy case of Old Iron Face. As the trio wonder why a ghost ship needs a place to hide, I love this part of a shark fin sneaking up, and Scooby just picking it up to find it fake with relief. Why is there a fake shark fin swimming around? I don't know. They don't explain. It's a mystery of nature. So mysterious that Scooby lost some of his line art here. The ship heads in, followed by the boys, with the captain finding and chaining the trio up to be part of his ghostly crew. Fred has a plan about the key over on the table though, using some straw with chewing gum to reach over, somehow actually being able to get it, which doesn't seem all that realistic, but I did also love this part as a kid. I also love this part where they come upon 4 different tunnels, and Velma decides to use eeny meeny miny mo to decide which one they use, and also the jump scare here. Velma makes Shaggy remove his paper pirate hat, but Fred wants to take a closer look, realizing it to be a ship's manifest, listing what the ship was carrying and the worth of it. The ship in question isn't even scheduled to ship out until tomorrow, January 10th, and you have to love the scribbles here. Now wondering why a ghost could or would have this, they start looking around and find tire tracks from a truck, which definitely doesn't make sense here. Scooby tracks them all the way to a pirate chest, the tracks ending right there. And another really memorable moment I loved happens when they open it and this gruesome skeleton with this insanely long neck pops out to ask for the password.
What's the password?
Velma calms everyone by revealing a speaker inside. Nothing supernatural here, which now means they have to figure out the password.
16 men on a pirate's chest?
I don't think that's it.
Yo ho ho, blow the man down?
I guess not.
How about yum, yum, yum and a liverwurst a la mode?
Finally. Of course, the pirate chest closes back and the wall lifts to reveal an entirely new room where the tire tracks continue. Looking around, they realize this is where the stolen cargo gets put when they raid the ships. But the pirates are right there waiting for them, so they have to run back out only to be locked in. They successfully hide behind crates, only for the ghost sword to find them again.
It's the gay blade of the ghost set again!
I could say a lot of things about a gay blade. It's just too easy. It's low-hanging fruit. But I am fruity, so I'm not beneath this much. They hide in another crate, and though they have the terror of the sword trying to get in, they do find countless boxes of Scooby snacks, enough to give them courage and strength to pop out and escape. Shaggy thinks he's going for a nightstick, only to pull out some liverwurst, and the sword cutting it up and Scooby happily collecting it for an improvised sandwich here is another scene that I really loved as a kid. In retrospect, this was probably one of my favorite episodes as far as greatest moments go. They dive behind a barrel, which the sword strikes and starts draining into some mugs the boys somehow found, and hope will be a delicious treat, but as they start chugging it, they realize they just took straight oil down the hatch. The trio meanwhile have some weapons they threw together, shooting and hitting their cronies right on their ass. The third shooting up to the ceiling and resulting in both of them hanging. That has to be some pretty strong suction on all ends there. Redbeard has meanwhile caught back up with the boys, but Shaggy has the threat of an egg beater, and I don't really know how the ghost pirate knows what that is, but sure, the captain really should have been a lot more afraid, because they do indeed start tickling him enough to escape. They believe they have found an automatic pogo stick, only to realize it is in fact a jackhammer. Yet another great moment I really loved as a kid. The two of them somehow end up jacking all the way to the ceiling, which leads the jackhammer falling right into the pants of Redbeard. A likely place to jack, and now all three of them are just stuck being zoomed all around. They finally crash into a bunch of tires, leaving all three pirates caught. Though I don't really know how the other two are in this mess if they were up on the ceiling. Whatever floats their ghost ship, the Coast Guard eventually meets them at the ghost ship, thanking them for finally catching the phony spirits. Velma unmasks the pirate captain. Everyone's shocked to find C.L. Magnus, the very man they thought they were here to help.
And I thought like the butler always did it.
The other two were apparently just hired help, which I guess is fair. Like we knew before, Mr. Magnus was on the verge of bankruptcy and about to lose his steamship line if he didn't come up with a lot of money. So his easy way out was to hijack his own ships and sell all of the cargo to get that money. They came up with the entire ghost story, down to the sword being operated with wires. And obviously the mysterious fog was from dry ice being dropped over the side of the ship. Scooby demonstrates by getting some of the dry ice and dropping it in water, and here's one of my absolute favorite moments. Scooby cutting a donut out of the fog it makes and taking a big bite.
Scooby-Doo!
And that's Go Away Ghost Ship. If you can't tell, even if I don't always consciously think of this as one of my favorite episodes, this actually really might be one of my favorite episodes. Yeah, some of my favorite moments that I always remember. Maybe this is a throwback not as relatable for you, but this is one of the episodes I had on video now from this set you see here, though I had a green player. And I remember I would watch this episode and the others in this set all the time on my player. I would just go outside and enjoy every one of these episodes over and over on this tiny little screen. This was like the peak of technology for me. I wish I knew what happened to it. I would still be using the hell out of it. I'd be watching it for this video on it if I could. The thing about this episode is that it's not even necessarily that our ghostly captain is scary or terrifying. I think what sets this episode apart is that it might be one of the most funny episodes, without it detracting from anything. This episode is like a laugh every couple of seconds and all of them hit banger after banger, and still it has amazing atmosphere anyway, with the beautifully painted ghost ship all throughout, and Mr. Magnus being the villain isn't all that obvious, because just like Shaggy's surprise, we set the butler up as a perfect red herring. Scooby even seeing the shadow as the butler is listening in, which apparently the guys just nosy since that didn't have actual meaning to anything. I love just about every moment of this one. I think this is one of the most perfect episodes. From them trying to be a decoy in the fog, to the cooking scene, the bubbles in the aftermath, the scene in the tub, the password scene, the liverwurst, the jackhammer, the dry ice donut. There's so many iconic moments in this episode. This is just one of those episodes where I sometimes might not even think of it if I'm listing the best or favorites right off the bat, and yet watching it really shows that it has to easily be one of the greatest of the original series. You would be hard-pressed to find an episode of the original that's not good to begin with, but this really is just one of the most solid you could possibly choose. This far in, they have absolutely perfected every piece of the Scooby formula. Everybody has personality, everyone knows who they are, and they all have such great chemistry together. It's episodes like this that will remind you why the franchise is still around to this day. These characters aren't just your generic cartoon characters without substance, no matter how simple things might ever be. comedy. It just works. Hanna and Barbera knew what they were doing and were the masters of this. Anyway, all that isn't to say that Redbeard isn't a good villain himself. I think he's probably the best we could have gotten with a ghost pirate, and that really is such a necessity when it comes to ghosts. Pirates just have such interesting and fun mythology, and are just asking for ghost stories about them. So I feel like every spooky series needs at least a little bit of a pirate moment. That's one thing children have never seemed to grow tired of. I think I've talked the ear off of this episode as it stands though, so I'll go ahead and let you find your way off the plank finally. The Patreon is now also live if you want to support the channel. It's mainly just to serve that function, but every now and then you may or may not get a little extra bonus content, or get to help decide on certain video topics. This video and the one before it were both chosen thanks to discussions on the Patreon based on what supporters there wanted to see this Halloween. And speaking of Halloween, I'll see you for the big Halloween special later. Bye!